Hey there, fellow classic comic collectors. As always, I'm Scott Harris King. And today I'm back with a store visit, two stores, going back to two stores that I've previously featured. So we're returning to which city? Yes, we're going back to Salem, Massachusetts, and we're visiting two comic book stores, two very different stores that are on the same street. So they're just like 2 blocks, maybe 3 blocks from each other, right on the same street. The first one I'm going to show is called Silver Moon, and it's in a little mall. I think it's called the Witch City Mall, right on the main drag there, the main pedestrian street with all the shops. And that one has, as we'll see, it's got a lot of dollar bins, and it has a lot in those dollar bins, a lot of what I would call TNA books. They have a lot of other stuff there too, but I would say like most of the stores I go to don't have a lot of stuff from like Zenoscope or a lot of stuff from Dynamite or whatever. So I'm going to show some of those. They had a lot of like Grimm's Fairy Tales. They had lots of those stuff in the dollar bin. I almost bought some just because I've never done it, but I'll show you what I did get. And then after that, we're going to talk about Harrison's Comics. I'll show you some very different stuff that I got there. And they have a ton of old stuff. So instead of the dollar bins with sort of the newer books, they have a lot of really expensive keys, and I mean the goods. Before we get to the back issues, I just want to mention a new issue. It's my first romance comic I'm putting out. I've been writing it. I drew some of the covers. I've been working with artists on this for a couple years now. As you know, I love romance comics, and we're going to see some romance back issues at the end of this video, which is thematically appropriate because Geek Lover #1 is the romance comic I'm doing. It's launching on Wednesday. I'm going to do a live stream Wednesday night at 9 o'clock, which you're all invited to. But in the links down below, you're going to see the link to my Kickstarter. You'll also see a link to the live stream. So hopefully I'll see you there, both places on Wednesday. But now let's talk about the comic stores. So let's start off though with Silver Moon. I bought a bunch of stuff out of the dollar bin. Everything I'm going to show you is $1, except for the first one, which was $2, because the bins are actually, that says on them, they're discount books, $1, $2, or $3. Don't think I actually saw any of them that were $3, but there was a couple that were $2. Starting with this collection. Now, this is comics that I've read before, but no longer have in my collection. It's Rom and the X-Men. And this is a collection. It has in it 4 comics. It's Rom 17 and 18 and 30. I think it's 30 and 31. It might be 31 and 32. Anyway, 2 different 2-parters where the X-Men guest starred in Rom, both of which feature this super creepy villain called Hybrid. Now, I love Rom. It was just a couple years ago when I was downsizing that I sold my complete run of Rom, but I love Rom, and these are some of the best issues. For me, the series is a little slow until you get to issue 17, and for me it really takes off with issue 17 where the X-Men appear, and from that point on you start getting guest stars. Like every issue or every story, every arc had some guest star from the Marvel Universe. Is why I always refer to it as Rom Team Up, because you get Rom teaming up with anyone you could think of and several you couldn't think of, and that really starts. I mean, there's a couple earlier appearances like Iron Man or whatever, but that really starts here in issue 17, and the villain Hybrid is really nasty. There's some stuff in these stories that I don't think would fly today, but he's basically half human, half dire wraith, and he's got these incredible powers, and he's trying to kidnap superpowered like mutant women so he can impregnate them and create a new master race of hybrid mutant dire wraith monsters. I don't think that's a story that would probably go over today, but of particular interest is the second part of this. The second 2-story arc guest starring the X-Men is also the second appearance of Rogue, which crosses over into X-Men 158 That's not included in here. The one thing that I think should have been included in here, that clearly should have been included but wasn't, is I forget what number it was, but one of the ROM annuals, 3 maybe, 2 or 3, was another hybrid story. And while the X-Men aren't in it, it does guest star the New Mutants. So if you had that in here, it would have all 3 of the hybrid stories, and they all, it's got the X-Men or the New Mutants, same thing. So it just would have made sense to include that as well. But since I don't have those issues anymore, I was happy to get this, so I'm excited to have that. Speaking of comics that I used to have and no longer have, but now I just got again, is Nam number 41. Now this is a story where the Marvel heroes aren't actually in Vietnam, but it's about like I'm blanking, but it has to do with the Marvel comics being read in Vietnam and stuff like that. So a couple of points of interest for me is that my father was a Vietnam veteran, and he talked about reading the Marvel comics in Vietnam. So I've got that personal connection to it, but also it just has this great cover. As it's has a really interesting set of credits on it. Can you guess the artists? Okay, so this is credited to Romita, Friends, and Romita. So it's a collaboration with John Romita Sr., John Romita Jr., and Ron Frenz. And of course, Ron Frenz is famous for basically copying the style of the Silver Age Marvels. And he does an excellent sort of Silver Age art style in most of his stuff, which looks a lot like John Romita Sr., but also, of course, a lot like Kirby. And so this being a mix of both Romita and Friends is really interesting. I would have guessed Friends because of the time period, but Romita Sr. was still working for Marvel at the time. Anyway, I love the cover. As an Avengers fan, obviously it's got the big 3 Avengers here on the cover in a great cover. So for $1, couldn't pass it up. Happy to have that back in my collection. Now, I mentioned that they have a lot of sort of adult books. Adult's not quite the right word because they're not really explicit, but they had lots and lots, again, of the Zenescope stuff and other companies that do stuff just like Zenescope. They had a lot of those titles. And some other ones that are sort of adjacent, which I would call sort of TNA books, where they're more like action stuff, but with a heavy focus on boobs. So, and I may be completely mischaracterizing this next one, so I apologize because I haven't had a chance to read it yet. But I got Critter number 2 and 3. So here's Critter 2. Now this is a superhero series, and it's a woman that dresses up in like a cat costume or something, or some kind of animal costume, and she's called Critter. Now, the reason I got these is because Critter is a big book on Kickstarter. And since I'm, obviously do a lot of stuff on Kickstarter, like I mentioned earlier, I was curious to get these because I see Critter come up on Kickstarter a lot. And I think what's happening, the company that does it is called Big Dog Inc. And I think that these comics may have originally come out in Kickstarter, and then after they were published through Kickstarter, then they signed a distribution deal, in this case with Aspen, to distribute it into the direct market. Because there are a lot of comics that do that. When something does really well on Kickstarter, a lot of times then you'll get these small publishers will contact you. No one's done that with me yet, but I know a number of other creators where that's happened. So these are issues 2 and 3 of Critter, and I just earlier this year I was live at the same time as one of their campaigns, and I think they just finished issue 23 of Critter. Plus they have some spin-offs and stuff like that, so there's quite a lot. These are cover dated August and September of 2015, so they're 9 years old now. but I really appreciate it when like a real indie creator sticks with the one series, particularly for so long, and it's really an impressive body of work to get that far in. So since these are $1 each, and I've never read them, but I've seen them a lot on Kickstarter, I wanted to take a look and see what it's all about. Now, one series that I have read a lot about is and had a lot of back issues is Red Sonja. But now what I had was the full run of all the Marvel Red Sonjas, all the various Red Sonja series. I don't have those anymore. But I love the character, but I rarely like any of the stories she's in. Now, they had a ton of Red Sonja, these dollar bins, but what jumped out to me are these. So these are the black and white sketch variants. There's a bunch of different ones. So basically it seems as though, from what I read after I bought these, I didn't know when I was at the store, I just saw them and I thought they looked cool, is that they're retailer incentives. They're limited variants. So the regular version will be in full color, and then this is like a 1 in 20. All the ones I'm going to show you are either 1 in 30, which I think this is, or 1 in 20 variants. They actually had some rarer ones, which again, I didn't know any of this when I was going through the dollar bins. I just got them because I like them. They had a couple others that I ended up leaving there because I didn't like the covers as much, and one of them was a 1 in 50 variant. So for dollar bins to find books from a mainstream popular series with that kind of rarity ratio is unexpected. I just bought them for the art because I do like Red Sonja. I really like this sort of more cartoony, almost like animated series sort of style of art as well. So that was a really cool one. This one's by, I don't remember how to say her last name, but it's Giselle Lagasse, I want to say. She does some adult cartoons. I know her from working on Archie. When I first got into Archie about 10 years ago, she was doing some covers for them at the time, and a couple full issues that I really liked quite a lot. So it was cool to see her doing a Red Sonja cover. We've also got this. I don't know who the artist is on a couple of these, but I thought the art was really cool. And then we have this one here, which is much more of a modern sort of style. Really well done. I'm totally confused by what's happening because you can see Red Sonja's here, of course. This looks like Kulan Gath. It might not be, but it looks like him. But then we have like a bunch of modern people. There's cars, there's cops with guns, there's like people with like, I don't know what's going on here. There's a guy, an old man in a suit, but he's using magic. So I don't know what's going on there. But I might find out, because the other fun thing was these issues that I just showed you are sequential. So it's issues 13, 14, 15, and 16 of this particular volume of Red Sonja. So it's cool to get those. I wanted to check those out. On a similar vein, now, as you know, I do a lot of public domain characters. I also have a complete run of Conan the Barbarian, which I haven't even shown you yet. Haven't even gotten around to showing any of those. Other than issue 1 and 23, I think. But I have it. So anyway, short version is I did Conan. I also, as you know, do a lot of public domain comics where I use public domain characters in my comics. Here's the tricky part, is that Conan's not in the public domain in the United States, but it is in the public domain in most of Europe. So there are comic companies that are overseas or in other countries, maybe even in Canada, I'm not really sure, who are doing their own Conan series because they're in the public domain there. And they can't call it Conan because that's trademarked. But I saw this, and there's several things about this that were cool. It's issue number 1 of The Cimmerian, Queen of the Black Coast, which is obviously an adaptation of the story that introduces Belit. I appreciate that because I'm interested in, I've read other adaptations from other publishers, so I'm curious what their adaptation is. B, another black and white cover. Don't know what the rarity of this is, but I'm assuming it's another retailer incentive variant. And of course, C, it's an homage to Action Comics number 1, but with Conan, which is fun because you can see that Conan here, instead of the car, he's smashing a small boat. So yeah, this checks off a bunch of boxes. Really cool. It's by Ed Bennis, and the date on it's 2019. That's all I know about it. I've never read any of these, so I thought that was cool to get. Finally, I got out of the dollar bin. I only got 5 of these. They had a whole bunch of them. And what they are is, I've got no idea. So these are the mystery comics that I teased in the title. They're Virgin variants, so there's no text at all on the cover of any of these. And there's nothing on the bags or boards or anywhere to say what the title is. And I don't recognize any of the characters. So I just bought these because I thought it was kind of funny to get a comic where you've got no idea what the comic is. And they're clearly not from the same title or genre, or some of them might be, but this one's definitely different than the rest. So here's the first one. Clearly it's some sort of anime robot guy, looks like a 70s anime. No idea what this is. And then here's the other ones, which all share a common denominator, which is sexy women, but depending on whether you find them sexy or not, but that's the idea. But I don't think they're in the same title. I've got no idea what any of these comics are. So again, different artists, different characters, all Virgin variants. They were only $1. The art on these, some of these is pretty good. Like, it's well done. But I've got no idea what these comics are. I still haven't opened any of these. So I still don't know what any of these comics are. So at some point after I finish this video, I'm going to open these and I'm going to find out what it is that I got, because I've got no idea. But like, these two both, this appears to be some kind of fantasy character. This is some kind of fantasy or potentially horror. I don't know. This one, it seems to be some kind of sci-fi or superhero or spy thing. There's a woman in like a evening gown fiddling with some kind of jewelry. Then we got this woman in this golden suit shooting a laser? I don't know. And then someone else underwater. 3 different women, I think. But it almost seems like some kind of like high-tech Charlie's Angels. I don't know. I got no idea what that is. Just like I don't know what this is. I mean, the art's good. I don't know. Is it Josie from Josie and the Pussycats? Except she's gonna shoot some dude. I don't know. So anyway, I thought that was fun to get these cool Virgin variants for a mystery series or 5 mystery series or something. So I'll be curious to see what any of those are. But all in all, a pretty cool haul from this comic store. Again, all of this stuff was $1 except for the ROM and the X-Men, which was $2. So I thought that was a pretty fun haul. Then we walked down the street. So off we go to Harrison's, and at Harrison Comics, they had the goods, as I like to say. And what I mean by that is they had a Fantastic Four #1 signed by Jack Kirby on the wall. And next to it, they had cover only in a CGC case. So if you haven't seen those before, it'll say CVR to indicate that the only thing in the case is the cover. Superman #1. So they had a Superman #1 cover only, and they had a Fantastic Four #1. It was a CBCS 3.0 with one of their CBCS verified signatures, Jack Kirby. Again, 3.0 is $30,000. They had a bunch of other keys. There's a Fantastic Four #5, a bunch of other top books. But you don't see a Fantastic Four 1 every day. You certainly don't see it signed by Jack Kirby, and you definitely don't see a Superman #1 cover. So that was awesome to see that stuff. Now, they have a lot of stuff there, including a large, robust romance comic section. So that's where I spent my time. And it's rare to find a comic book store these days that has a section for romance. There's a few in the area, but not very many. But this is one of the places that has a pretty large romance section. Now, most of the stuff they had there was Charlton, which is fine because they collect Charlton and they have a lot of great Charlton books. But they did have a few other things here and there, a couple Atlas, a few DCs, a few this and that's. But let me show you what I got. And at least one of these I'm pretty sure I already have. So let me start with that one. It is Love Diary number 66. Stop it. Stop it. I sob. I don't love you. I never loved you. And some of you probably have clocked immediately why I got this, because it's got Jim Aparo art. Didn't do a lot of romance, but he did a few. And this one, you can see his signature here with a J.A. But it's clearly his style. Like, he's got a style that you can identify immediately. And I've a couple other of his romance that I've shown online. People have pointed out that he tends to also do his own lettering. I don't know if he did that here. I can't really recognize his lettering, but some other people were able to identify Aparo books just from the lettering. So that's how distinctive his style is. I think I have this already, but I wanted to make sure. It was only $6. If I do have it, I'll probably end up moving one of the copies, either giving it away or selling it or something. Okay, later on, let me show you the other Love Diary. That was 66. This is 65. So one issue earlier, and it's got a cool split cover here. Guy's carrying this girl that's been injured in a skiing accident. On her cast, it says, "You can't put a cast on a broken heart." And then we've got a trip to paradise with little flowers, which makes it seem very hippie-ish, and something that's happening. It looks like, well, I don't know. Miss Rob loves Mr. Corey. I'm guessing that based on the fact that it's a chalkboard, that it's some teachers in love or something. Teachers deserve love, so I'm all for it. Now here's one that's interesting to me. 1975. It's Time for Love 45. Time for Love 45. She's thinking, okay, you can see his uniform here. She's thinking, he doesn't know that my dad's a cop too, and I know what it's doing to my mother. So I like that aspect of it. I like this, like you get a story right on the cover. The other thing that's interesting to me is that this is Capello. I'm a big fan of his art, but this to me, it's right at the end. It's one of the last issues of the series. It's kind of right when Charlton really started downsizing, moving to a lot of reprints. A lot of the romance comics ended right around this time. And Capello, his art changes drastically from when you see his work in the 50s until the mid-70s. For me, his peak is late 60s and early 70s. This is interesting to me because it's almost a little bit past. It's like he's moved past the part that I really like his art, and has gone a little bit too far. But it's cool. I got it mainly because you don't really see the stuff from this period quite as much. Finally, here's a romantic story number 71. Now this is earlier. It's a 12 center. And it's got a really great nighttime cover. Also has a cop on it. Here we got this couple that's making out in the woods with this beautiful sky and the big moon. And then the cop stumbling across them. She's in the throes of passion, saying, "Oh, Chuck, I love you. I don't care what the others say. I love you." And then the cop goes, "What's going on here?" The wild one. So it's just a great cover there. Frankly, I don't think you need the dialogue. And if you didn't have it, it would be better, because this is when they had that A machine doing the terrible lettering, but what are you gonna do, right? It's still a great cover, and it was $10, so I had to get it. So that was the extent of my purchases at Harrison's. But again, they had so much stuff, like so many big keys and stuff like that. They're on the same street, so it's very easy to just walk a couple blocks from one to the other and hit both of these comic stores the same day. If you haven't been to Salem, there's tons of cool stuff to do there. All sorts of shops about witches and like curiosities and stuff like that. And there's a really cool art museum right on the stretch right there. And a lot of great little restaurants and stuff. So I definitely recommend checking it out. If you're a fan of comics, you definitely want to go to Salem. So that's it. Again, check the link down below for the live stream link for Wednesday night, 9 o'clock. Also for my Kickstarter. I'll see you there.